Do you want to give millions of dollars to somebody who's maybe already a billionaire for their business? Do you want to give several $1,000s to a small business? Now, most of us would choose the latter, but I want to talk about the nuance of the sports economy. So whether you are all about like getting that stadium built no matter what, or absolutely not, no public subsidies for team owners, I want to talk about the nuance because it seems like an extremely like black or white issue. And as I'm always here to tell you, few things are, especially in the community. And I want to tell you how I shifted my thinking on this and where I'm at right now. And it's still changing, but I want to talk to you about this because this is something that affects all of us, right? Because I'm thinking most of us on here actually pay taxes, but also a lot of people I hang with are small business owners. Then a lot of other people that I really like and hang with are like city leaders and economists and things. So I'm still learning, but let me tell you what I've learned so far. So original stance for me was like, why would we give money to build a stadium? Like, I don't even think stadiums should have sponsors on some level. Of course, sports and sponsorship are like the ultimate, right? Like there's a logo on everything. And believe me, social services, things that are like basic human rights like healthcare, get out of the arena naming business. So there's my controversial opinion. And I live in a city where both of our major sports centers are branded by a healthcare system. So that's my complaint in this moment. But originally, I just didn't understand why any money would go towards sports. Sports make so much money. Look how much these players make and everything. Well, as I learned more in life, of course, a lot of maybe most athletes do not make much money. My favorite sport is track and field. Surprise. And of course, these marathon runners, they're in peak condition, like breaking world records. They don't make a lot of money for all the effort that they put in. They have to get a sponsorship, all of that. So not everybody is an American football quarterback, right? So there's that. But let's get back to the actual like city-based, venue-based argument. So I was really, really lucky a few years ago to be brought in to do the strategic plan for Sport Oregon. And Sport Oregon is the entity, it's its own entity, it's a nonprofit, but its mission is to promote sports in the state of Oregon, but in the sense of affecting the economy and quality of life, right? So, of course, if I have access to sports, that improves my quality of life. That doesn't mean like I get to go to a professional game. It means, is there a bike trail through my town? Is there a cool destination I could go to that has, a half marathon going on? Sport, I think a lot of times we think of like the American big three, like football, baseball, basketball, but this includes like the quality of the kids' soccer field in the suburbs or something. So like sport, you have to think of it as broadly as you possibly can. So a lot of things we may think of as leisure. And then of course, there's a whole ecosystem around every sport. So, there may be, actually, I think we literally do have this competition coming here, fencing, right? Like sword fighting, right? So like that's something that can happen. Maybe some high schools have fencing. Fencing's at the Olympics. But there's a whole fencing culture. There's a bunch of people who are all about fencing and their families come to see them compete. So if the national fencing competition is happening somewhere, you're not only getting an influx of athletes from all over, you're also getting all their families. They've got to book hotel room nights. They've got to eat food out. They've got to spend money in your city. So it is a great investment, right? To go get those conventions, competitions, and bring them to your city. So that is the work of Sport Oregon, just around sports, right? Is let's make sure they're coming here. And Oregon, of course, is like the ultimate for sports. Like, sure, we don't have every facility. We're not going to have a World Cup game here anytime soon, but we've got ocean, mountains, rivers, fields. Like, it's the most stunning, amazing state. So part of it is that. And then, of course, there's also like, let's get and keep teams here. Like WNBA is thinking about bringing a franchise here. Let's make sure that happens, because now we are making double use of our sport court at that center. I'm not going to say the name of the sponsor because you know how I feel about that, at that arena. But it's not just that. When I go to that Portland Fire game, am I paying for parking? Which that money is going to a business that, you know, maybe I'm not paying for parking at that center. Maybe I'm using somebody's like independent lot. Am I going to get food nearby? Am I going to get drinks after nearby? Now, I will say on our annual best practices trip, which is where a bunch of leaders from my city go to a peer city, so a city that's similar to us in demographics, and we study what they're doing and what's working and maybe what we could adopt, which I love the concept of that. Everyone in every industry should be doing something like that, right? You don't have to invent anything from scratch. There's great ideas already out there. So when we go and tour the sport venues, often, I will say very much so when we went to like Sacramento, there's a whole entertainment district enveloping the sport venue. We don't have that here. There's like a couple places to eat within. I mean, there's like one restaurant in the complex. And then everything else, you have to walk like 5 blocks to get there. I mean, what a lost opportunity. But we also have to have that space full most nights in order for that, you know, a business to be able to survive there. So I'll get back to that. So we do have a missed opportunity around certain venues to build the economy, and those businesses surrounding, they're not necessarily a global chain. It might be a local restaurant, a locally owned restaurant. And you know, when you spend your money locally, then that money stays circulating in your community. If I go and buy from a global chain, that money mostly leaves my community. So that's why shopping local is important. I'm on so many topics, but these things are all interrelated. And that's what I always want you to understand, because again, it's so easy to make things black or white, or say, oh, I only care about this issue. But every social issue is intertwined with a bunch of other ones. So sorry, nuance, difficulty, the world is complex. Okay, so we're coming back to that. So I was able to do the strategic planning with Sport Oregon, and later on with Visit Vancouver, Washington, worked on their sports strategy for attracting sporting events to Southwest Washington. So I got to learn on the job a lot about the impacts of sports tourism and, of course, retention. Tourism can be room nights, which is how the tourism entities the entities that promote tourism locally get paid in my area by the tax on room nights. So they're really focused on things that involve overnight stays. But for my city's economy and for the small businesses, which I care about, around these venues, around these hotels, maybe it's an independent hotel that's owned locally, maybe it is a restaurant, maybe it's the retail surrounding, maybe people don't have anything to do all day before the game, and so they're going shopping at these local boutiques. And maybe they're like, oh, I actually want to live in the city. This is really great. And so, you know, there is a wider benefit to having people, even from the suburbs, come into the city for sports. So you can see that someone could easily, okay, maybe not easily, it's probably a professional, calculate the potential economic impact of a sporting event, of a sports team. How many nights are they playing? What's the average? So actually, Sport Oregon did a version of this. I love this piece because it's simple stats, infographics. My favorite form of graphic is an infographic. I mean, most organizations should have something like this, and it should be this simple. Your annual report could be this simple, so teachable moment. But I can just look and see, okay, by the numbers, 4 million attendees, professional versus collegiate versus regular events, non-local spending on lodging, restaurants, retail, transportation, and entertainment was $304 million. Generates jobs, 2,840 jobs. You know, so like these are the kinds of numbers and information that people need when they're deciding whether to support something. So like there's a lot of controversy in my town right now around the city contributing money to necessary upgrades for our basketball arena. And what happens is the NBA says you have to meet these standards in your arena in order to have a team, right? So this is what happened with our minor league team, the Hillsborough Hops. The Major League Baseball came over and said, your stadium has to meet these criteria. So they had to build a whole new stadium in order to keep the team. Now, it's not just like in a vacuum, right? Because there are local businesses and local people who depend on that team. There's jobs and everything. Now, I'm not saying that alone is a reason to support it. I want to see the math. I want the stats. Like, yeah, it might bring in $100 million in economic impact, but it might cost us 120. So then we're losing every year. Is there enough impact that's sort of ethereal on livability? So, you know, I'll talk a lot more with you about communications and how important that is. But it's not just, are we giving money to someone who has money? Like there's a whole ecosystem, and there's one person with money who symbolizes that ecosystem. And yeah, I don't want my tax dollars going to that person, but it's not really just going to that individual person, right? Oh, it's so hard when issues are complex and nuanced. Do I support this particular initiative or not? I go back and forth because, first of all, our leaders have been terrible at communications on this issue. And I'm not saying they haven't communicated. I'm saying their communication has been incomplete and late. Communications has to be quick turnaround, and you can't condescend to people and leave out really important stats. Like I'll see things come out and I'm like, they knew that a month ago. Why couldn't they have told people that? Put it in an infographic. If it doesn't fit on an Instagram pane these days, like it's too complicated. So there's that. And then also what people are upset about is where the money's coming from. So in my city, in my state, our tax system is whack, like wiggity whack. And it totally needs an overhaul. But of course, that takes a lot of political courage and time. And, no one wants to be the person who's like, now we're going to have a sales tax or whatever. So what happens is, since we don't have a sales tax, we don't have enough taxes that go into our general fund, and we don't have enough revenue from people's taxes and business taxes, because we're not great at attracting and keeping businesses in my city or my state. That's going to be tomorrow's topic. What happens is we have to create these special taxes, bonds, levies, everything, and those go into a certain bucket. So when I pay my arts tax, it's not going into the general fund and oops, now we need to fix the streets. No, it's only for the arts. And this is what people are really upset about, justifiably, when corporations pay their extra 1% tax in Portland that goes into our clean energy fund, that money is for clean energy projects that prioritize the frontline communities that are going to be most affected by climate change events, like a heat dome. Well, they want to take money out of that and put it toward this arena upgrade project. Now, maybe it's for clean energy things in that project. What is the relationship here of that money? It seems like a ton of money, but like, what's the context? What percentage is that? What other projects won't get funded because of that? So like, again, there's communications that have been missing or just buried too deep for people to understand. And so, that people make it about just like, oh, we need to keep the Portland Trailblazers, or like, I don't care about giving money to that billionaire who just bought them. And again, it's more nuanced than that. So we still don't know exactly what's going to happen. Then all this information came out like after everybody took the survey and everything about like, oh, well, we're going to keep them till 2030, no matter. I mean, it's a communications debacle. But what I'm asking you to do or consider in this video is, it's not binary, right? It's not black or white, sports or no sports. And it's an ecosystem. Just because in high school you were a theater kid and not a jock doesn't mean you have to hate all sports as an adult. And I'm talking about myself, right? I didn't get into sports until after college. So I was a theater kid and I used to think like, oh, it's the arts versus sports. No, not at all. It's both. And I think in our city, people are really putting a lot of effort into a collaboration there, because what I'm going to do on a Saturday night might be either or, and Friday, Saturday might be both. So the spillover and the effect on local and small businesses is something I really, really, really care about. And we see like, when the Nike community store closed down the street from me, all of a sudden that foot traffic isn't there for the small businesses across the street. So again, it's an ecosystem. It's connected. I want people to keep their jobs. I want our economy to keep growing so we can pay for the things that are really important to social services, social justice. But if we don't have revenue, we can't pay for those things. So stay tuned for what happens on that. But again, knee-jerk reaction versus considering the nuance and asking the right questions, not just writing it off, but like, okay, where's the money coming from? Okay, where will it not be funded anyway? Oh, it was already going to go towards something like that. So this is shifting, ask the right questions. All right, so I hope you know a little bit more today about the sports economy. I'm sure if you want to see this, that it's online at sportoregon.org, and it was created by Eco Northwest, which is a fabulous economic research and reporting organization. Both of them have been my clients and are run by fabulous, awesome people. Shout out to Jim and to Lorelei and to your teams. Thanks for the things you do to try to educate people and to try to make our area better. All right, go out there, ask better questions. Game on.